2023 was an exceptional year for renewable energy. This as the country saw the worst year of load shedding on record, forcing many households and businesses to invest in alternative solutions that would make them at least partly independent of Eskom. But data shows that new installation for new generation facilities have decreased markedly this year. Business Day's energy writer Denene Erasmus joins us now to shine some light onto the findings of this data. Thank you so much for your time, Denene. Now, last year was quite an interesting year. Whenever I'd be driving on the highway, I'd see tons of buildings there with construction of those rooftop solar panels, but not seeing a lot of that at this point. What kind of difference in the levels are we seeing here between last year and this year?
Hi, Zanati. Yes, so last year, I think as the year, it coincided with this worst year of load shedding ever, where we hardly had a day without load shedding.
Yeah.
And with this, we saw many households and businesses investing in rooftop solar. A total of about 2,600 megawatts of rooftop solar was installed in South Africa last year. And to put that into context, that's roughly the size of one of Eskom's medium-sized coal-fired power stations.
Wow.
So that is a massive amount that was installed in a single year.
Yeah.
And I think it was expected that that this would slow down, and especially now that we've been without load shedding for more than 4 months, we have seen a slowdown in this. But there is still a lot of solar being installed. So far this year, there's been about 590 megawatts installed. If we continue on this trend, the total installations for this year will probably be roughly half of what we saw last year.
Okay.
In the interim, we have also seen that South Africa has introduced a 10% import levy on solar panels, which will make solar installation that's a bit more expensive. And and the tax incentive that was put in place by National Treasury for households and businesses to invest in these systems has also fallen away. So there is also a bit of a financial consideration that is probably contributing to the slowdown this year.
All right. But are we not counting our chickens before they hatch?
So I think that we've seen a similar slowdown also in the registrations we've seen with NERSA, and that's because of bigger structural problems. So that's the larger solar and wind projects that have also slowed down a bit from last year.
Yeah.
But again, that was also expected. I think as we've spoken about before, there are those issues specifically with the lack of transmission grid access that is at the moment slowing down investment in that space a bit. But again, importantly, while we have seen this slowdown from last year, which was, as you rightly said, really an exceptional year for how much renewable energy was added and how many projects were registered, we are still seeing a good pace. Yeah. And if we compare to what we're seeing now with what was happening in 2021, 2022, that long-term growth trend is definitely still very sharply upwards.
Yeah. Looking at this load shedding relief and related to my previous question of maybe if we're counting our chickens before they hatch, could this not then translate to a broader slowdown in terms of adding renewable energy, and also maybe a slowdown, delays in terms of reaching our targets when it comes to that?
I think it's important to remember that, yes, we've been without load shedding now for about 4 months.
Yeah.
But Eskom and the Minister of Energy and Electricity has been very clear that even though we've seen very good performance from Eskom, it doesn't mean that we're completely out of the woods yet, and it doesn't mean that load shedding is completely ended. I think later this year we will see some changes happening so with Kusile, for example, it has to go over to, we've got the 3 units there now running on the temporary solution that was needed after we saw the stack collapse at that station.
Yeah.
So with that permanent fix that has to be implemented at the end of this year, that will for a period take that offline again.
Yeah.
So that will definitely increase the risk again that we will see a bit of load shedding towards the end of this year. But in terms of reaching the overall targets, in terms of how quickly we want to see renewables being rolled out
Yeah.
and reaching those decarbonization targets, I think, yes, definitely the pace still has to increase, definitely in terms of larger projects, but also for households and businesses investing in rooftop solar. And I think an important point that was made in this article that we are talking about now is that the focus now is very much shifting for households and businesses to not necessarily wanting a solution to load shedding, but hopefully getting a solution that will ensure them a bit of savings on their electricity bills as we anticipate double digit and in some cases it's been mentioned up to 36% increases in electricity prices over the next year.
Yeah. I mean, also just with the slowdown in demand, because we also have to look at demand supply factors here, could this maybe also create an opportunity for consumers in terms of savings, where we could get the providers of these, rooftop solar panels to kind of get to a place of competitive pricing because demand has slowed down?
It's that's a difficult question to answer. So I
Yeah.
think because our local companies that do provide these services are
Yes.
very much reliant on the parts that they have to import. So I think globally we have seen that there is a bit of a glut in terms of solar panel supply.
Yeah.
So that definitely could help drive down prices a bit. But then again, we have to look at this 10% import levy that's been imposed that could then have the opposite effect on the prices.
Yes.
But yes, hopefully it will bring a bit more competitiveness into the market. Having said that, the market space is already very competitive if we look at the household and smaller scale rooftop solar installation industry in South Africa.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and giving us insights on that, Denene. Much appreciated. That was Denene Erasmus, energy writer for Business Day.